All right, we're all set up and ready to go. Good evening, everyone. How you doing? My name's Sean. I run mailworks.com. I design and sell chainmail themed apparel and accessories. And we're making some of these, and then we're gonna put them together because we can be overly complicated about making simple things. I am live again. I try to go live 8:30 to 10 Central Standard Time as many nights of the week as possible. So stop by, say hi whenever. Throw some likes, share the stream. Join me on any of my other social media pages. If you're seeing this for the first time and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's making chainmail. I see guys wear that in movies. I want to make armor too. How do I do that? If you go to the link tree in my bio, you can find the Mailworks app. And it's an app that has all the resources I would have wanted when I first got started making chainmail 28 years ago. And it took me really way too long to get proficient and good at what I do now. And so that app is a free resource. There is a link to my store on there. So please support me by going to my store and purchasing something nice for yourself. But yeah, other than that, it's free. And it's got as much information as I can... No, that's not correct. It's got links to as much information as I can pack into it. And the chainmail community is just kind of going through this renaissance for the last 2 decades, maybe a little longer, where there are more people making chainmail now today out of more materials, out of more ring sizes than ever in history. And we have discovered more weaves and more ways to do things than ever before. And so it's pretty cool. Nope, no basketball hoops. So, anyway, I'm working on an undecided project. It's going to be a ringception piece, and a ringception is just when you take rings and make a chain and turn that chain into a ring and then weave those rings together, right? And this is called sandworm or B8FP, which is I don't know what the B stands for, but there's 8 rings in each section of this, and then the FP stands for full Persian, which is the basis of the weave. So, how's everybody's day? How are you guys doing today? I didn't work a lot on this. I think I made one of these. Oh, come on, hang on. I made one of these rings last night and one this morning. And now I'm working on a third. But in between, I had a bunch of smaller, like I took apart some brass and bronze pieces to polish up. Or some brass and bronze rings to polish up. And I've got the tumbler going right now. And yeah, get those cleaned up and we'll turn those into something. But I'm trying to use up all the rings in my basement and finish all the projects in my basement and make everything look nice and pretty and sell some of it and make art projects out of the rest of it so that I can order all new stuff from the many suppliers that have popped up in the chainmail community over the last 2 decades. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So, I was working on that today. School, we were on spring break last week. School has started back up. So I got my kid to school, came home, wove some rings, had some lunch, wove some more rings, went and picked up my kid, did homework and dinner, and I've been chilling down here for about an hour now. So if you're watching, you can help me out by sharing the stream and increasing the number of likes. And that puts me out on the FYP so that people can see that I'm streaming and following along, and I would really appreciate it. So, but other than that, I'm currently, this is the basis for sandworm, right? This is called full Persian. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. This is square wire rings. Actually, so is this one. Right? You can see just the 2 different sizes here. And they're both square wire rings used to make full Persian, but you can do a lot with it. So we're making 20 units of this. Or we're making a chain that is 20 units long. And these are 22 units long. So we're making a chain that is 21 units long. And I need to take out one section of each of these rings. I'm going to shrink them down just a little bit, and then that'll make sure that they're tight enough. Because this has got a little bit of movement in it, and this weave was not quite as rigid as I thought it was, so it ended up making a ring that was a lot smaller. Now, because the diameter of this isn't that large, but the thickness of the ring itself is quite big, there's only so many weaves I can make with this, right? So what I want to try and do, I have a lot of these are 16 gauge 3/8 rings from the Ring Lord, and what I want to try and do is make enough of these rings and weave them together to make a jelly cube, right? As if jelly cubes don't have enough rings in them already. Okay? And you'd be like, Sean, why would you waste your time doing this? Well, I'm out of rings on some other projects. I have my saddlebag that I got to finish up over there. So I definitely need to do some more work on that. But it's almost done. I'll get back to that. And then everything else is just kind of like we're either waiting for something to happen or it's just another project in line. So I was like, all right, well, screw it. We'll work on this for a little while. Thank you for sharing the stream. Thank you for the follow. So that's basically where we're at tonight. Can't complain too much about my day. It is muddy as all get out outside, so whenever the dogs came in, I was trying to clean off paws and clean up mud and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and that'll be the last one. So, things you can do with full Persian: the sides, necklaces, and turning them to other weaves like sandworm. Makes a decent bracelet if you have the right ring size. It's a chain weave. It's not a sheet weave, right? It doesn't make big sheets of chainmail. But I've got, well, let me show you. There are ring sizes. Okay. So I think this is like 9 feet of full Persian wrapped around itself. Right? See the loose end up there? It's just to hold it in place, right? It's like 9 feet of one strand of chain. And I'm going to section this off and make rings out of it, just like, kind of like I'm doing here. And then we'll make, I have some plans for this, because I have a lot of this too, so. There are, with some of my other my last sculpture was not as rigid as I was hoping it would turn out to be. And I used Byzantine weave to make the rings. And it was just, it's kind of, I like the way it turned out. But I wish it was a little more rigid. So full Persian is a good weave, because if you use the right ring size, you can get it nice and taut, and it'll hold a ring shape, basically. That's why I'm using it. Other weaves that I want to try are like inverted round or captive inverted round. What was the other one I was thinking of earlier? Hang on. It was inverted round or captive inverted round, which is this weave right here, right? This, make a nice taut ring to make rings from, right? But that's captive inverted round. Or actually, this is just inverted round. Captive inverted round has another ring in between these two rings, inside of those 3 rings. I'll make some eventually and show you. But yeah, that's another weave that can get taut, right? And then it's fun to do fun things like this. These rings are not especially taut, but they're wide enough they kind of hold their shape. And that's a sheet weave, actually. It's called interwoven 4-in-1. Used to make these. Right, used to make this whole bracelet here. So we're using rings to make weaves, to make rings, to make chains, to make stuff. That's the whole concept behind a Ringception piece. I hope that makes sense. Is it clear as mud? All right, last one here. So one of the upcoming projects, can I reach that from here? Hang on. So I've got this sculpture, let's call it. And it's something, right? It's kind of wonky, but it's relatively rigid, holds its shape. I did some work on it recently and it looks a lot better than it did. But I want to use it as a display base, right? And I was thinking, I want to use it as a display base for some of the more elaborate sculptures I want to try and make. And that one, like, that one's not good enough to, like, try and sell or anything. It's aluminum. I don't want to work in that material necessarily. The quality of those rings is pretty good though. But for all of the ideas I have in my head, right, a lot of them would require a display base. So I was thinking about the designs for some display bases. So now not only do I have the idea of making sculptures, but also making display bases for them. So I'm either getting in over my head, or I'm going to have a lot of work ahead of me. We'll see. Either way, I'm just happy that I'm getting some of this stuff, this pile of crap in my basement that's been sitting around for far too long. Just happy that I'm getting through some of it and getting projects done and getting stuff made. Because that is what this is really all about. Come here. All right. Now, if you can't, I'll zoom in on the overhead camera for anyone watching. But I'm adding so there's an inside layer of full Persian on this sandworm weave, and then an outside layer of what is essentially box chain. And box chain is fairly simple weave, but you can see, right, how these rings on the edge are being added to this chain in the center, right? And so for anyone watching on the overhead, let me zoom in here. I picked this weave because I thought it would be pretty tight, right? All right, there's the box weave being added to the full Persian chain. And like I mentioned earlier, it didn't end up being as rigid as I thought it would be, and the rings came out much smaller. So now I'm just going to make a bunch of these rings and weave them together. Into a jelly cube is my goal. I don't know if I have enough rings for a jelly cube. I'm guessing I do because I, for some reason, ordered a lot of these 16 gauge 3/8 rings. So I just want to I want to have a project that uses all of them up. Does that make sense? And this particular weave foots the bill, so it's gonna work out. Where do I get my rings? I got all the rings I currently have from the Ring Lord. all these old rings that I'm working to get rid of. New rings, I purchased new rings from joshuadiliberto.com. I will be making my own rings in the future, hopefully by the end of this year. But same place you get yours? Okay. Because of some of the business practices that they have engaged in, and not that these are bad business practices, right? So all of my rings are from a really long time ago. At some point, the ring lord trued up all of their ring sizes so that they were labeled correctly, right? A 16 gauge 1/4 inch ring had a diameter of a 1/4 inch when it was done, right? So when I went to go order more rings, none of my ring sizes matched up. They were all off by just enough to make a lot of the projects I had been working on unusable, or unfinishable, rather. And so I ended up with like these half-finished projects and a bunch of unused rings. And so I will order the rings that I need from them. But in the future, I most likely will not be using them, right? They have been bought out by, they've got new owners, I think 2 times over now. And they got rid of the Ring Lord Forum, and that essentially was my last straw as far as doing business with them. So, typically about a few pounds of wire and coil your own wire for each project. That's a great way to go about it. I have done that in the past. Made my own rings and everything. In fact, I was just using my old miniature bolt cutters that I used to cut rings with so long ago. So many rings. This is probably the 3rd pair of bolt cutters because I wore 2 others out making rings. And anyway, for a long time, so for a long time after making thousands of my own rings, I bought rings from the Ring Lord. They were the only manufacturer I was aware of back in the day. Now there's a lot of manufacturers. Some business from Canada, some businessmen from Canada, you think bought them. Yeah. And they seem more concerned about their government contracts than their customer service and or product quality. So, like, if they want, I'm not opposed to doing business with them if I have to, but there's a lot of manufacturers that I've never worked with, and I want to give them a try. So moving forward, because of what's going on with them, I'll give them some space so that they can figure out what they're doing. And then they made a quality control pledge recently. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future with the Ring Lord. Yeah, hand making your own rings does take forever. And that was the thing too. So I made thousands of my own rings. And I made crappy rings and I made crappy products, right? Or not even products, just projects. And that delayed me from really becoming good at chainmail for a long time. And so I swore off making my own rings for several years. But moving forward, because the scope of the projects I want to make moving forward are so large, in order to be cost effective and to ensure I'm able to afford to make these projects, I'm going to need to coil and cut my own rings and everything. You love Chainmail Joe? Yeah. You seen Astrid in other lives you've been in? Right on. Astrid's pretty dope of a person. She makes really awesome chainmail stuff. Does custom work, takes requests. Comes highly recommended. I think I've screwed something up. This is not giving me the flex that I need. Hang on. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. We'll keep going. It means you're in the right place. Right on. I definitely think so. If you like chainmail and you like to watch people fumble around and screw stuff up and blather on, then yeah, you're definitely in the right place. Come on. This is... How did I get this to work? Okay, this is... We're gonna force it. We're gonna make it do what we want. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. And we may need to disconnect this and then put it back together once we have it at the right length. Let's see here. So, all right, I've got my large jelly cube project ready and waiting to be worked on. I've got rings coming for the Finnegan's Wake inlay. They're on the way. Trying to decide on making a giant rainbow jelly cube or several small ones to make a rainbow. Yeah. That was not this one, the other one I started, right? It's like, do I make a bunch of small ones and try and sell them? Do I make one large one because I can? Have you made a large cube yet? The problem with making large cubes is that there are 14,000 rings in this. I can make shirts for with this many rings, right? Not in this ring size, but if I were to weave 14,000 rings of a given ring size, I could make a shirt out of it and sell it, right? And it takes, I don't know, I probably got somewhere between 80 and 100 hours into this one cube, right? And so if I was going to go and sell it, you know, we're talking $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for a large cube. And then even if I were to, I'm going to try and raffle the other large cube off. I might keep it. I don't know. But even, you know, how many slots am I going to have to hold for a raffle in order to get my times, my money worth of my time or whatever, right? I don't know. The larger you make the cube, the more you run the risk of losing money on it. So, of course, if you have the time and energy to make a cube, and have it sit as an eye catcher, right? It may bring in business all on its own. You're working on an 8x8? Right on. Nope, you went to jewelry more than anything? Right on. I like making jewelry. I do. I like the jewelry I've made. It's pretty okay. But there are enough chainmail artists that make jewelry out there. I wanted to focus on something else. So moving forward in the future, I will have my few lines of jewelry that I make, and then most of the rest of what I do will be much larger pieces. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I decided a long time ago, when I started getting proficient, that doing the hustle, and you know, there's nothing wrong with doing this. Don't think that I'm okay. I am constantly impressed by the number of people who go to a show every weekend and sell their wares, right? And I see them working throughout the week and posting the stuff that they make. And they are working their butts off. Right? And my lifestyle has never... I've done booths. I've done shows. Not a lot, but a few. Enough to know that it's never going to be a part of my lifestyle where I can go out to a show every weekend, or even enough times to make it worth my while, you know? So I have never been one to want to focus on that. And no shade to those who do. Like I said, I'm super impressed by the amount of work they put in. But with my kid in school and me, if I'm like traveling around the country in a trailer or an RV or something, you know, and just going from event to event, that'd be different if that was like my whole lifestyle. But it's never been conducive to my career. And right now, with my kid, it's not conducive to our lifestyle because he goes to school, and then I wouldn't see him on the weekend if I did something like that. So, but there are people like touring with Oddities and Expo, going to Renaissance festivals every weekend. And they're just, you know, they're just kicking ass and taking names. All right, TJ, have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. Always fun to meet other chainmail artists. Unless they're assholes. Then it's not fun. Most of them aren't. Most chainmail artists are pretty okay. Oh wow! I should learn how to close my rings. You'd think I'd know how to do that after decades long doing it. Decades of experience doesn't know how to close a ring. That sounds like me. You've met some that are so rude. Yeetus, I'm making some sandworm. And then we're going to make a bunch of these and then weave them together into a jelly cube. Which is a really big project. Yeah, okay. So in regards to like the chainmail community and the chainmailers out there in the world, there are some who it is difficult to be in the same room with them because their egos are so big. But that is every internet community. Oh dear God, you cannot do that. You cannot stop me. I've got this many rings here ready to go, and then another giant Tupperware thing full of rings. So we'll see if I have enough rings to make it happen. The only other weave I can do with this is like JPL, so I could make one long JPL chain, but the aspect ratio is just the right size for a cube, I think, and for JPL. I don't know. Thank you for the follow. Do I make my rings? No, these are all old rings I bought from the Ring Lord a long time ago, and ever since the Ring Lord trued up their rings to make the, like, a 16 gauge 1/4 inch ring was a 1/4 inch in diameter, right? I stopped ordering from them because I couldn't get ring sizes that matched. So I'm trying to use up all of my old rings and finish up all my old projects, and maybe one day I'll be done. So, but once I do that, I am planning on coiling and cutting the bulk of my rings because the projects I want to make in the future are very large projects, and to make them more cost effective, I want to do it myself. I have never heard of Orc Weave, much less tried it. Is it pretty cool? Let's see here. Orc Weave. What is the end result of this? Maybe I have seen that. But I'm going to go with, no, I've never tried it. It's very pretty. You're learning that in the elf weave. I love elf weave. Do I have a bracelet? No, I have a bottle wrapped in elf weave. That's pretty cool. Elf weave. I have a bottle wrapped in elf weave and dragon scale. And the bottles are from Astoria, Oregon, which is where the Goonies was filmed. And they were, there's two bottles that kind of matched in a bottle box thing that had like 20 bottles in it. And I purchased them from the antique store and took them home and wrapped them in chainmail. And they are, those were some of my 2006, 2007 projects, but they're pretty cool. Someone we ran into at the fair claimed she made Byzantine and wouldn't let people hold her work. Like, invented it? I invented Byzantine, a weave that has historical documentation that proves it's been around since, since the Crusades? Yeah. Those are my favorite are when you meet someone and you see their work and they claim that they invented it all, and there's like kits in there from known artists, and you're like, wait a minute. All right. You did not invent that, silly. That kit costs $15 and it's on Etsy. Shut the hell up. I'm not going to name any names, but I know people that know what I'm talking about. Thank you for the roses. Appreciate you. Where does this ring go? You felt some of the bracelets before she yelled at you to put stuff down. The closures were terrible. Yeah, I believe it. Okay. All right. So this is, we got to weave this in upside down and backwards. Because this is tight. Tight. There we go. That's one. Yeah, I can imagine anybody who claims to have invented a weave that, like, their name isn't next to the entry on Mail Artisans. I would say, yeah, no. Sorry, I don't like that song. You got the rings to make dice bags. You're doing 4-in-1. Right on. 4-in-1 makes a nice dice bag. What am I doing? I made some dice bags. I kind of experimented with them by putting a strip of... What did I use? Did I use elf weave or interwoven 4-in-1? Where's that? Where's that damn dirty dice bag? Hang on. Yeah, okay. This one has elf weave on it. So this is my dice bag, one of them. This is titanium, right? And I've got to anodize it, so that's why it doesn't have any lacing through the top. But there is a strip of elf weave in it. And then the rest of it's 4-in-1 with some contractions to give it an expansion. And then another strip of elf weave on the bottom. This is 20 gauge 1/8. So those were these were titanium rings that I bought from the Ring Lord that had these horrible barbs on them. And so they sat in a container for years because I thought, oh, they got these barbs, I can't make jewelry out of them. So that was one of the issues I had with the Ring Lord, right? Like the quality was just going through the floor. So, but there's the, you can see how it expands out. And then I finally got a tumbler and I started going through everything in the basement and threw these in with, I think I ended up having to tumble these with some, no. I have a video on it on my TikTok, right? I broke some ceramic coffee cups that I had just sitting around because we have like 20 coffee cups that came with the dish set that we have. And anyway, so I broke those up and then threw the rings in with the crushed ceramic coffee cup, and that took care of the barbs. I have since bought like ceramic beads that you can tumble with. And so in the future, I won't be using crushed up coffee cup for my ceramic, which I don't recommend. It does work, but I don't recommend it, right? So I've got that one, and then I've got two stainless steel ones that I made recently. doing that. Dice bags are, you know, they're a thing. Some people make really cool ones, and I'm not one of those people. Not really. Maybe one day. Okay, so I made this 1 unit smaller than these other 2 rings. I was planning on adjusting these down. I'm wondering if I'm even going to get this closed. We'll see. This is getting quite tight to be weaving in here. There we go. It helps if you put the ring in the right place. You know, it really does. Just makes life a little easier. So if I can end up with a project where all the rings are in the right place, I'm a happy man. Okay, I think this is the last. Do I have 1 or 2 more? 2. Okay. I might want to. You might also want to open the ring before you try and weave it. I'm not an expert. Keep telling people that. Come on. There we go. All right, so anyway. Oh, I'm missing a whole ring in this. What in the world? How did that happen? That's why that looked funny. I am making a weave called Sandworm. How you doing, Nicole? And I'm making large rings out of them. And I'm going to eventually weave all those large rings together. Hopefully. But I shortened this ring by 1 unit. And to make it more rigid, it does not want to let me get this last section into place. So you just started with chainmail. Very cool. Have you tried making a jelly cube? Come on, lay down. cool. You're making full outfit for the Ren Fair in July. You want to try and make dragon wings? Right on. A full outfit by July. It can be done. It can be done. Plus, it's the Renaissance Fair, so if you show up in like half-finished chainmail, you know, it's kind of accurate. With bits of chainmail falling off your body. But no, if you're doing like a fairy costume or something, or a cape or something, you know. Okay. So we can definitely... You have the shoulder and neck piece done and working on the skirt now? Nice. Okay. Now where is the last piece? Is it here? There we go. Good Lord, this is a pain in the butt. Okay. So this is a whole lot more rigid. This is like, whereas this still has some flex to it. So I'll take these two down 1 unit. They're 22 units a piece, you know, around. I'll take them down to 21, like this one is. And we should be able to get this to work, I think. Maybe not. We may... I may need to put another unit back in here. You're going as a dragon trainer? You have some 3D dragons to make it look cool? Nice. That'll be fun. What Renaissance Festival are you going to? If you don't mind me asking. I've been to a few. All right. Okay. On to the next one, I guess. That is the end result of our... Yes. This one... Alright. These two seem to lay a little bit nicer than this one does. So I may change my mind and... Or the one in Bristol, in Wisconsin. That one is like 5 minutes away from me. So I might be there as well. I want the rigidity. And this, having everything raised up looks a little cooler. I'm going to go with this. Start the next one. So I like the fair in Bristol. It's pretty good. It's not, it's got almost everything that the Texas Renaissance Festival has. And it's not quite as big, but it's decently big. And I like taking my son there and riding the rides and going around and looking at shops, and we have fun together. So I didn't go the last 2 years. We'll see. I think Sherwood was the only fair that it got started, and I went when it was really first starting up. So there wasn't a lot there yet. And I've been told that it's gotten a lot larger and a lot better since the 15 years that I've been there. I don't know. When was I there last? Yeah, probably 15 years ago. You go with your grandparents? They've been going for over a decade now? Awesome. That's cool. I had never been to a Renaissance Festival until some apartment neighbors of mine out in Maryland and Silver Springs asked me to go along with them to the Maryland Renaissance Festival. And how old was I then? 22. Where I grew up, we didn't have anything like that. We had rodeos. We had AAA baseball, semi-pro hockey, but no Renaissance festivals. And I don't think that's changed. I grew up in Idaho, and I don't think there's a Renaissance festival there. There would be some good places for it, though. I think perhaps the fact that there are so many, there's a few different venomous snakes there in Idaho that might, like, it might be a bad idea to have a Renaissance festival at. So maybe that's why there's not one. Like, the liability of stumbling over a rattlesnake while you're tramping around the fairgrounds is probably not only not ideal, probably couldn't even get insurance for one. So, I don't know. But when I went to the Maryland Renaissance Festival, I was just, my eyes were popping out of my head. And then I've been to Maryland, Texas, Sherwood, and Bristol. And I have friends at Colorado Renaissance Festival and BARF, and there is another Renaissance Festival out here in Wisconsin, and it's out in Janesville. It might just be called the Janesville Renaissance Fair. But it's like one weekend a year. So, and that one's about an hour away from me. But I haven't made it out there. Maybe one day. Where are we? 1:30. So, trying to think when the last time I was at Bristol was. I don't even think I dressed up this last time I went. I just took my kid and rode the rides with him. He was still pretty little. So let's see here. We went over in 2015. It is 2024. I didn't go last year and I didn't go the year before. So that would mean I went in 2021? No, because they had COVID. So 2020 was the last year I went. So that means he would have been 6. 6? No, 5. Yeah. That sounds right. It's something like that. Haven't been in 4 years. So, I should go again. There is Rogue Mail. They've got a booth. They've got a booth there, and they just started up their equestrian line of making chainmail for horses. And it looks like they're not just making like jewelry for bridles and stuff. They're also making armor. I don't know anything about horses, and so I've had people come in here and ask me, do you do work for horses? And it's like, I am not familiar enough with an animal like that to know what it can tolerate. But Rogue Mail, they've got a couple horses. Some of the people who run Rogue Mail either have horses or they go and ride horses at a stable to either train or practice or something. I don't know. But they've got a booth at Bristol, and it's loads of fun to go there and say hi. And now they are also doing horse stuff. So the first time I went, okay, so the first Renaissance Festival was Maryland when I was like 22. When I was 22? Yeah, 21, 22. Then that was 2004, 2005, somewhere between 2005 and 2006, probably 2005. I drove from Fort Polk, Louisiana to Houston, which is about 4 hours. And that was when I went to the Texas Renaissance Festival the first time, and we camped out and went to the big bonfire out there, and so that was a lot of fun. And I went to TRF for several years. It's like one year a friend of mine had a booth there at TRF, and that was during the phase when I was getting really good at chainmail. And so he consigned a bunch of my stuff that I had made, and a bunch of it sold. We both made a little money. But the next year that I went, I saw no fewer than 3 people with stuff I'd made. So that was cool. Alright, how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So one of the concerns about trying to make enough of these for a jelly cube is having enough of these rings to make these rings, right? To make enough of these rings to make anything worthwhile out of. Excuse me. And I think I might have enough. We'll find out. If not, I'm going to have a bunch of these. Right? So, maybe too ambitious of a project, but we'll see. I don't know what else to do with these rings, you know? So I've got a lot of them, and I just need to use them up in something. They're machine cut, so I can't make jewelry out of them. Just stuck between a rock and a hard place. Oh, here's a... Oh, gotta verify to continue. There we go. There's a funny story. Someone emailed me asking if I had a discount, and I told them about the discount available on our store. And they said, that's very cool. I hope you make... I'm assuming that they meant to say, I hope you make a lot of sales. But somehow autocorrect hit, and it said, I hope you make aloe vera sales. Which I thought that was a pretty good autocorrect. All Alright, come on. That ring needs to be squeezed down. So after I'm done here, I've got to switch out the... Well, no, I'm going to do that tomorrow. Maybe not. No, I can leave it going all night. I've got some brass rings in the tumbler that are tumbling to be cleaned up that I disassembled earlier today from whatever they were. It was like a checkerboard looking thing. And it didn't work, so I took them all apart, got them in the tumbler, cleaning them up, and I have some bronze rings that I need to tumble, and I have some stainless rings I need to tumble. But I can finish, or I can remove the brass rings and put the bronze rings in the tumbler and let it tumble overnight. It'll be fine. And then do the stainless ones tomorrow. And I don't have enough of those. If you've been hanging out with me at all, there's a chainmail pine cone made out of dragon scale, and that I was hoping I would get suitable rings for that with these, right? But these aren't going to work. So the brass, bronze, and stainless steel rings, those might work, but I don't think I have enough. So I have some anodized aluminum that I might use. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It might be one of those things that is a future project, and I can order or make really nice rings for it. What else? Got my taxes done. That's good. Don't have to worry about that anymore. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's like we use TurboTax, and apparently TurboTax likes to lobby the government so that it can never be simple in figuring out how much you owe the IRS. Why did I close those rings? So, and then I have to mail in my federal taxes, and I can't file my state taxes until my federal taxes are filed. So I couldn't even use TurboTax to put them, to file them anyway, and I had to pay $300. I was like, what is this? So I'm a little miffed. I'm confused at what I paid for, because I paid, and then they told me that. It's a bit ridiculous. One of those things that I'm glad my wife does the taxes. I'm glad I don't deal with any of that. But, you know, if you use TurboTax, you expect to be able to file your return. And the fact that I couldn't do that was mind-boggling. And then the fact that I had to pay to not file my return in order to find that information out, I'm a little miffed. I don't know what I can do, but I should call them and be like, yo, this is garbage. I don't know why I need to weave the rings. Don't just close them. This is why I don't pre-close rings or pre-open rings, because I get into a habit of close a ring, close a ring, close a ring, and then when I go to weave it, I'll pick it up and open it. Or if I have a bunch of open rings, I'll go to weave it, and I'll close it, because, I don't know, I've seen people do it that way, and I'm glad it works for some of them, to pre-close or pre-open their rings, but I have tried it, and I've never found that it was very like helpful or that it saved that much time. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Alright, so count those out. I'm not going to be able to finish this one in the time I've got, but now that I've kind of got a plan and I've decided what the ring size is going to be, this feels like it weaves pretty fast. I don't know, it might become a grind later. Like, for example, this bag, I've done one of these bags before to add to this jelly cube, and that was a grind, getting through this bag. I thought, oh, I can get through this bag in a couple of days. No, it probably took me a solid week. So, this might get to that point, but I don't know. It weaves pretty fast, and it's one of those you can kind of only half pay attention to, which is nice. So if later on, if I want to go watch a movie, I can bring some rings with me, go upstairs, and just sit and weave and make a bunch of these. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And I've got a myriad of other projects to work on in case I get bored with this. You know, I'm surprised I didn't see anybody make some sandworm. This weave is called sandworm, right? I'm surprised I didn't see anybody make any with the Dune movie coming out. I don't know. Is that not? Like, I think that's topical. Has anybody seen the new Dune movie? I have not. Saw the old one 100 years ago. But all I've seen of the new one, I guess there's 2 out now, is memes about a popcorn bucket. Maybe I will watch it when it comes out. I don't know if it's one of those movies that you should watch while you're in theater. I watched Top Gun the other day, the new one, and that is definitely a movie you should go see on the big screen. My small little TV did not do it justice. It was still a pretty good movie, but, you know, some of the scenes were like, oh yeah, this definitely could have been on a bigger screen. All right. So we've got the central full Persian done. Now to add the outside layer here. So it's 21 units long. By 4, it's 84 rings. So each one of these should be 168 rings. So what's 168? I don't know how many rings I need for a small jelly cube looking thing. But I should do the math and figure out if I've got like close to that amount. I can just weigh them before I go much further. I should figure out like an approximation of how many I have. Because if I start weaving all these together, you know, and I get to a point where I don't have enough rings, like that would be annoying. Let me just put it that way. So I will try to remember to weigh everything I have out tomorrow and then do the math and figure out how many rings I have and how many rings I can make and how many I will need for a small like 3x3 jelly cube. What is a... I've actually got the calculator pulled up somewhere. I'm here. Yeah, interesting. This says 162 rings in a 3x3 cube. I'm wondering. So that would mean I would have to make 162 of these for one 3x3. I'm looking here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 times 3. That's 63. It maybe just no that. I don't know if I agree with that number. Anyway, I'll figure it out. It might be, like, it's definitely at least 63. 63 of these plus for a 3x3 cube. So it's going to be quite a bit. Like I said, I don't know if I have enough rings for it. We'll see. I have a lot. I just don't know how many. And then if that doesn't work, so if I do the math, figure out how many rings I have, and how many rings I'll need to make for a jelly cube, then, and I don't have enough, then what? This ring size is good for like cubes and JPL, which is a chain weave. I could make them bigger and we use them on a different weave. My original intention was to make a dragon scale pine cone, and I will make one out of using a Ringception technique, but this particular ring won't work for that, I don't think. So then what else could I make? Because if I do a JPL chain weave, I would just end up with a long chain of JPL. And like, what would I do with that, you know? I was talking earlier about making some larger chainmail sculptures and like display bases to hold them up. I don't know how. I don't know what I would turn this into. if my second idea doesn't work. First was pine cone, second was cube. Might have to go to a third option. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Wherever the wind takes us, right? Where are we at here? 9:50. Couple more minutes here. So coming on between 8:30 and 10 and Central Standard Time has seemed to work pretty well. I have thought about doing lives during the day. Because I am, I'm home, I'm working on stuff. But the one or two times I've done it, it was not good. Right? Excuse me. Hang on. The first time I did it, I moved my computer. I have another set of speakers to plug it into, and I got a table over there where I've been working on the chainmail cover for my saddlebags. And I thought I had an idea of how I was going to go about connecting the chainmail to the saddlebags, right? And what ended up happening is I discovered a way that it didn't work. And so instead of like crafting and making progress on the stream, I was just sitting there on the struggle bus trying to make my idea come together. I got off the stream and I figured out exactly how to make the whole process work of attaching chainmail to my saddlebags. But I could not, what I was attempting to do on screen was not successful. So it was really frustrating. And then the next time I tried streaming during the day, something happened. I don't remember. It didn't work. So, but I am chilling, working on this stuff. And so maybe we'll see. I'll try and do one. I'll try streaming during the day one more time at least. I would rather be sitting there streaming, making content, than just sitting here by myself, you know what I mean? Like, I'll just sit here and work on stuff and listen to music. But during the weekdays, kids at school, it's just me in the house. Oh. Wow. My back is going to pop later. Let's finish up this pile and then that'll probably put us around 10 o'clock. So yeah. Renaissance festivals and I was thinking this year, if I do go to the Renaissance Festival, I would take an Uber right up to the front gate, and then get an Uber home. And I'm certain that Uber offers those options. So, rather than trying to take my car and park and walk, just take an Uber right up to the front gate. If I get my... Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I might take an Uber if I go more than once. But if I get the opportunity... Because I'll have the saddlebags done here. My saddlebags are covered in chainmail, right? That would be cool to have it parked out in front of the Renaissance Festival. I do plan on doing wrapping the toolkit and doing a tank bib for it. And my presumptuous ass thought that I would have all of that done by the end of Christmas break. I started the saddlebags at the beginning of Christmas break, and the first one took me like 3 months to finish. And I'm still working on the second one. It's almost done. But I was like, yeah, I can knock all this out real quick. No. I'm not particularly fond of leather work and punching holes, and like people see me make chainmail and they think, oh, that's monotonous. You must have a lot of patience to do that. And I see people making leather work projects and I'm like, oh my god, I could never do that. And I try. I have a bunch of leather tools because leather and chainmail go hand in hand. There's a bunch of projects that I plan on incorporating both in the future. So but it drives me up a wall. I would much rather weave rings than like punch holes in leather or do leather tooling or any of that. So, but I do want to get better at leather work. It's just, I'll get there. It's going to take some time. I also recently started following a guy that does engraving. And I find that super cool, and I would love to get some tools for that. But enough hobbies for now. Enough projects for the time being. When I'm caught up and I have some time and some of these larger scale projects are done, I will, like, my kid wants to anvil and forge. It's like, I would like to do that too. And I live like an hour away from the Milwaukee blacksmith who does classes, and an hour away from Centaur Forge out in Burlington. So, pretty good place to get supplies for that and everything. But for right now, because I have so many projects I need to finish down here, maybe next year. We'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Last ring has been placed. We'll save those for later. That goes there. All right, we got that much done. That's pretty good for an hour and a half. Right? Not bad. All right. For anyone hanging out, my name's Sean. I run mailworks.com, where I design and sell chainmail themed apparel and accessories. If you want to learn how to make your own chainmail, you can go to the link tree in my bio, and there is the Mailworks app. And the Mailworks app is a list of all the resources I would have wanted when I first got started making chainmail almost 3 decades ago. So, if you want to learn how to make chainmail or where to get started, that's a great place to start. If you want to buy chainmail or need something custom made or just want to see what's out there, download the Mailworks app. There is a list of artists in the artist section that do custom work and have stuff made already for sale. So please check that out. Please go to my website, which is my username, mailworks.com, and take a look at the apparel and accessories that I sell. Please pick yourself up something nice, and that supports me in doing all of this stuff. So thank you so much. It is 10 o'clock. I do have to get some stuff done before bed tomorrow. Or I do have to get some stuff before bed so that I can get ready for tomorrow. You all have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you all later. All right. You all have a wonderful night. Bye.